Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being present here today. At this time, we will begin our board meeting briefing. At this time, Mr. Superintendent, do we have any public comments or presentations?
Yes, ma'am, we do. We have Miss Lane Dupree, who is going to speak with us about the AirVac Life Team and the benefits, possible benefits to the school system. So, Mr. Dupree, go ahead.
How are y'all? I am going to spit it out. I do not want to waste anybody's time, but I want to make sure that the education is conveyed about what we do. I work for AirVac Life Team, which is the air ambulance helicopter. The base is in Americus, but we are the service provider for Dougherty County and other surrounding counties. What we have is a helicopter with 3 people on it. We've got a pilot, a paramedic, and a nurse on board each helicopter. What that means is the 4th person is the patient. Let's say, does anybody remember last week the wreck that happened on 82 at the Lee County-Terrell County line? We flew that person out. And I'm sure you've seen last night there was a child flown out in Worth County last night as well too. Does anybody know how much a flight bill costs? Somebody take a guess. Costs more to that than you started up.
About 25 to 30,000.
Kenny Phillips was the Rotary president in Americus and works at the staffing people. I don't know if y'all know him, but this is just one example. He was flown from Phoebe Putney to the Doctor's Hospital in Augusta, a one-way trip, and his bill was $106,000. So flights are very, very expensive. Now, could you get a bill for $48,000? Absolutely. We own all of our helicopters, so the mechanics, the billing, healthcare services, everything is one bill. It's not like when you go somewhere you get a lab bill, an anesthesiologist bill, a physician bill. Everything is one bill. So what we have is a membership that covers everybody that lives at your address. We do not care age or relationship status, and we cover kids up until they finish undergrad degree. So they are off at college at Statesboro, West Georgia, wherever it may be, GSW. Your children are still able to be covered. We can offer it to a group rate with over 150 employees. It is $5 a month. $5 covers everybody at your address if anybody were to have a flight. Which means you are at Phoebe, you think you have kidney stones, it turns out to be something more and you need to be transferred. Helicopter. You have a wreck somewhere, stroke, a burn, children, something happened and you need to get to a higher level of care, your membership covers that. It does not matter why we fly you. If you have insurance, don't have insurance, you're 95, have prior health conditions, it does not matter. You are fully covered with your membership. So in here you can see what the application looks like. We do not require social security numbers, any health information, none of that. This does not cost the school system any money. It is payroll deduct. What Marion County did was we did the sign up, they payroll deducted, then they cut us a check. So you are never out any money. This is totally voluntary and you are able to add people and delete people every month. So if somebody leaves employment, they are not able to take them with this. You have new employees that come on and want to join, great, sign it up, send it in. You pay off a roster each month, you do not pay off an invoice because this can change month to month. Now, how long, who can tell me, it's a trick question, the best way to get to Augusta? There's not one. There is not a good way to get there. I'm just telling you. See? I'm telling you that. I paid her $5 to say that. From here, from Augusta, you're looking 4.5 hours. Did y'all say? I mean, that's a given. A helicopter, you're looking hour 15, hour and a half. That is 3 hours of life-saving time that you can be at your definitive place. There are 5 levels of trauma centers. Is 1 or 5 the highest? 1. Level 1 trauma centers are the highest you can go. They cover A to Z. The other ones cover A to J. That's total example. Anybody know where our closest level 1 trauma center is? Macon or Tallahassee? Macon, there's nothing south in the state that is a level 1 trauma center. So a lot of times you're going to Macon. Primary and comprehensive stroke centers are the same. Primary can handle A to J. Comprehensive can handle A to Z. Does anybody know where you got to go to find a comprehensive stroke center? Atlanta or Dothan? We go to Dothan a lot for strokes. So it's not my fault, your fault, anybody's fault. We live in rural South Georgia. People do not stay and live right beside a level 1 trauma center. And it is what it is. Things happen. We flew a nurse that works at Lily Pad. Love her. We flew her daughter not too long ago, 1 year old, because she pulled her grandma's coffee off on the table. That can happen to anybody sitting here at your desk. Nobody plans for those events that happen. This is the best health care and the quickest you can get. So I want everybody, and in this is a little questionnaire, kind of talks about some of it. Insurance rarely covers a flight bill because they are large, sometimes 6-figure bills. And they may pay a portion, they may deem it medically necessary. I don't know about y'all, but I've had to fight with insurance companies over a prescription. You don't think they're going to fight a $106,000 bill? My dad was actually flown December 7th from Phoebe Sumter. I don't have his bill yet, or I would share with you. But my own family members have been on it. I saw him at 5 o'clock that day. He was fine. By 2 a.m., he was on the helicopter with blood clots in his lungs, life threatening. Went to work that day, never had a blood clot in his life. And I was talking to them about how you have helipads at each school. I'm not sure that we are aware of that or know that. And we can also provide additional training for your staff, police, things like that of, okay, power lines, when you get an orange ball on it, if you hear this happens, A, B, C, and D happens. Price-wise, like I said, $5 is the cheapest you can get. If you buy it individually, under 60 is $99, over 60 is $79. So again, a tank of gas for all year. But if you offer it as a group, again, it is totally voluntary. This has nothing to do with their insurance or how many people they have. They are able to get on our membership. I know I'm spitting it out quickly. What kind of questions, concerns? Yes, sir. Absolutely. We have 320 across the United States. So maybe, now what I tell people, there's a chance this membership covers you to the hospital and in between hospitals. So let's say they got in a wreck and we were not the first one right there, but ambulance took them to the hospital. It's a Band-Aid hospital. They need to get to a trauma center. In between hospitals is a guarantee, because all you got to say is, I'm an AREDAC member. You have cards, decals, stickers. You do not have to prove anything before being flown. You do not have to remember numbers or anything. The crew on the flight is worried about your health care. They don't even know how to look up memberships. So yes and no. Around here, we have really good coverage. We have Americas, Tifton, Perry. We have 17 in Georgia. And flight time is nothing. My dad made it from Phoebe Sumter to here in 9 minutes. LaGrange comes in, Perry comes in, Tifton comes in. Any of them can come in. So transfers between hospitals are guaranteed. Emergency pickups on the side of the road. If you're not in this area, you got a shot, but I can't guarantee it. But if you are flown by us, I can guarantee that there is no bill, no matter what. It doesn't matter, like I said, why we pick you up, age. There's no maximum number of times you can use this service either. So it's not like we kick you off of it because you had a flight or your rates increase. None of that. It's $5. The end of the story, black and white kind of. So yes and no. I think it's on the last page. If you look at these little blue dots on the last page, each blue dot is a helicopter. Don't go to Washington or Idaho. We don't have any up there. But again, what can you buy for $5 a month? You can't even buy a Happy Meal. Me, my husband, and two kids ate at Sonic the other day, and it was almost $70, and I hurt my feelings. You know, what other questions? And of course, I'm a local rep. You can actually touch the machine that services this area, the crews. I encourage you to talk to the staff at Phoebe. You know, they see us and use us a lot, and we're just an extra added layer of protection for you and everybody else. Yes, sir.
My question is, you know, I'm sitting here pondering after Mr. Youngblood's question, and it really kind of, I guess it's a two-edged sword. Mr. Coleman there represents Phoebe and the school board, so how he's going to advise us what to do. It's still Phoebe. It's, I've been in Vietnam. I rode on helicopters. But my question again is, how can he give us his honest opinion when he represents you and the school board? That question is for Mr. Coleman. But you're talking about Phoebe, how he's going to give us. It's not. Listen, don't try to. I've been around a few days. How can he give us advice on what you have presented? And he's our lawyer, and Phoebe's lawyer.
What I'm gonna say is that we don't hurt Phoebe. Phoebe loves us. We love them.
I love Phoebe too. Just a simple question.
I would think it's a simple answer that he knows it's a good service, and we just talk to Phoebe support it, and he's gonna tell you that this is benefit and offer is voluntary. But I don't know.
Well, in this particular issue, Madam Chair, this is a proposed employee benefit. We haven't had time to look at it yet.
Correct.
And so we have not brought a recommendation. This is just for information for the board. And like all of our employee benefits, we'll take it under consideration. And if there are no legal issues surrounding it, then we wouldn't need legal advice on this particular service, like most of our employee benefits.
Again, I'm you know, questions, concerns, anything comes up, want me to come back, absolutely would love to.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
y'all, and my information's on the front of that brochure and all over that, so if y'all need anything, please give me a call.
Okay,
Thank
appreciate
y'all.
you being here. Right. Are there any other public comments or presentations? Okay. At this time, we're going to review the agenda items, give the board members an opportunity to ask questions and make comments. Please note, we will need an executive session to discuss personnel, student matters, and litigation, but we do not anticipate any action coming from that executive session. All right. Are there any questions or comments about the agenda? Item number 1, the minutes. Consideration of the approval of the minutes from our regular board meeting held on January 8th. Questions or comments? Item number 2, consideration of recommendation for employment of personnel. Item number 3, consideration of recommendation for release of personnel. Item number 4, consideration of recommendation to approve Gateway Education Partners. Item number 5A, consideration of recommendation to approve fundraising request. And yes.
Yes, sir.
And out-of-state field trips, that was your question. All right. Item number 6, financial reports. Item number 7, are there any committee reports? Item number 8, the superintendent's report. Mr. Superintendent?
Ma'am, we're going to be a little different today. I had a technical difficulty, so I had to go upstairs and share the presentation with Mr. Sumner. So he's going to pull it up on his computer. I'm going to try to see if this remote will advance the slides, and it will. So I think we're in business. All right, superintendent's report for January 25th. As you know, the division of the Dougherty County School System, that we're a destination school system. Experiences that empower its graduates to be successful and impactful contributors to society. And our mission, let's see, I think I'm going too far. All right, well, we'll go here. All right. Our mission, of course, is to meet the academic and non-academic needs of our students as we prepare them to be successful in life. And we'll start with our strategic plan. As you know, we have 5 pillars in our strategic plan: early literacy, academic rigor and relevance, social emotional wellness, investment in human capital, and family community engagement. Early literacy. Well, let's start here for a second. When I became superintendent in 2017, we did a review of our school system, and we said that we want to eliminate the pockets of excellence that we see throughout the school system and have excellence that permeates every classroom in every school. And so we set out to do that, and we began our work on a strategic plan. Community stakeholders, internal stakeholders, board members all gave their input regarding our strengths, opportunities for improvement, and we set out to develop a strategic plan that'll take us from where we were at that point to where we desire to be, and realize our vision and deliver on our mission. And so the first pillar, early literacy, and we started looking at the literacy rates in Dougherty County, the literacy rates across the state, and we said students who read on grade level by grade 3 are far more likely to be successful in the later grades and beyond. So we thought that would be we felt that was our number 1 priority, and some of the action that we took after our strategic plan was adopted was to create the early literacy department, and we hired 4 early literacy specialists, separated our school system into different regions, so to speak, and they provided job and business support for our teachers in K through 2. We also provided letters training for all of our pre-K through 2 teachers to learn the science of reading to help with our students in literacy. And as I mentioned at the last board meeting, the state has now adopted that same model. Was it K through 2 or K through 3, Ms. Smith? 3. Yeah, I thought it was K through 3. That was a typo for the second grade, K through 3 teachers. And this year, the state and the government put it in its budget for the state to hire literacy specialists to go in different regions of the state to provide training in the science of reading, including letters. So I think we're a little ahead of ourselves, a little ahead of the state on that, and we have seen some progress. Those numbers are kind of small, and when I have my computer, I can see them. Now I have to look at the board. I see how difficult it is. But if you look at the literacy rates in terms of our CCRPI scores from 2018, which is the latest dates available, skipping 2020 and 21 because the state does not provide that data on its website. As you know, 20 we didn't test because of COVID, and 21 the state said although we did test, that data should not be used for comparison purposes because we didn't have an adequate sample size. For Dougherty County, for example, about half of our students learned virtually for the entire year. Another component learned virtually for about half the year. We had about a quarter that stayed in person the whole year. Notwithstanding those disruptions because of spikes in the rates of COVID throughout the community, and that happened across the state. So the state does not use FY21 data for comparison purposes. But if you look at 2018, we had a 34.4% literacy rate, and then we look at almost 36% in 2019. 2022, it dipped to 27, and that was the year after COVID, first full year back after COVID. And then last year we had 52, almost 53%. I think that's indicative of a few things, not the least of which is the efforts that we put forward in our early leadership specialists. If you look at the state's average was, I think that's about 50 and almost 51 in 2018, 52 and a quarter in 2019. It dipped to 46.6 in 2022, again after COVID. And this past year there was 66.4. In the bottom chart, you'll see the gap between our achievement, our literacy rates, and the state's achievement rates. In 2018, it was about 16%. The state bested us by 17.5, and 19 and a half, and 22. And this year, it's about 13.5. So the gap between our achievement and the state's achievement is shrinking. And if we continue on that trajectory, I think I'm sure, I'm confident you'll see that gap continue to get smaller and smaller, and to the point where within the next few years, due in large part to the work in our academic services department, our early leadership specialists, but most importantly, our schools and our teachers who have dedicated themselves to helping our students realize their maximum potential. COVID was a blow, and every year we get away from COVID, people forget the impact that it had on our students. I've shared with you several times the presentation from Dr. Bill Daggett, who presented at Georgia School Boards Association, and he talked about the impact on student achievement that COVID had, and that anywhere from 35%, as low as 35% of the typical growth was achieved during the year of COVID. And so students missed out on about 65% of learning based on that. And that is, those are some averages. When you look at students who learn virtually for the majority of the year, students who are in low socioeconomic conditions because their families didn't have the resources to provide the supports as some other families did, those students were disproportionately affected. And if you look at our school system, we have a disproportionate number of those students compared to the rest of the state. So you'll see some dips in it, like we shared before in previous meetings. You'll see that our dip was significant, but also you'll see that our recovery has been significant. And so I'll continue to move forward. I'm not going to, since we do have a lengthy executive session, probably, I'm not going to play that video again. It's about 2 minutes, but I'm sure you have it committed to memory by now. But I will show the graphics that he showed in terms of the 100% on the right. The green line shows the typical growth over 3 years for students prior to COVID, and then the 2 dots on the horizontal line for each category represents the range of growth they had the year of COVID. So in reading, minority children who are socially economically disadvantaged, learned about 77%, achieved about 77% of their typical achievement in reading in grades K through 5, whereas students, majority students and students who were not challenged, whose families were not challenged economically, got to about 90%. In math, you'll see 37%. I misspoke, I said 35, it's 37% of typical growth for 5th graders in math. And it goes from 37% to 80% for those students who struggle typically, and from 53% to 84% for those students who are not socially economically disadvantaged. And so one thing he said in his presentation, although I'm not going to play it, is that, ladies and gentlemen, you're not going to make that up in a summer session. It's a multi-year journey. And I say that because every year we get away from COVID, people think that, hey, it should be over with by now. That was 2 years ago. That was 3 years ago. COVID was in 2021. we went virtual in 2022 for a lot of that year. And for some of our students, almost half, they went virtual the whole year. And despite our best efforts with providing hotspots that they could have access to internet at home and devices, Chromebooks where they had access to Google Classroom and virtual learning at home, it's just not the same. I think everyone can say that. So those years certainly hurt our students in terms of achievement, but the plan that we have moving forward certainly is working, and the data that I'm going to show in the subsequent slides are going to demonstrate that. Starting with our CCRPI summary for 2023. That's actually a history of our CCRPI performance in terms of content mastery, district and state trends. You've seen this before. We just added the 2023 year to it. 2017, that was the year before I got here. The spring, you'll see where we stood, and you'll see 2020, 2018, 2019. You see that the gap between the content mastery for the state and the Dougherty County school system was shrinking. And then you see in 2020, we didn't test in 2020 at all, but 2021 you'll see that there's significant decline in achievement. Again, the state does not even have that on their website, the CCRPI website, because they don't want that to be used as a year for comparison. Because one, it was an anomaly. We had a lot of our students learning virtually, and two, the state requires us to have 95% of our students test, so you get a sample size of students that helps make your data valid. Because we have so few students testing, the data is skewed, so they don't want to use that for comparison purposes. We use it just to see where our students were, so we'll know where we need to go. You'll see in 2022 we had a significant increase in achievement, and in 2023 another increase in achievement. In some cases we're close to where we were in 2019. I think if we continue that trajectory, we'll surpass our 2019 content mastery averages, and we'll be moving forward toward the road to recovery even further. And this table shows, I had it in the corner of that previous slide, but it shows you in 2017, we had 44.4% mastery in all content areas in elementary, and 49.9 in 2019. We are going up almost 5.5 percentage points. And then content mastery took a dip to the 30s in 2022. We're back up to 44, over 44 this year. And one thing we did, and you'll see that trend continue in middle school and high school. You also see it for elementary, middle, and high at the state. You'll see their content mastery averages. You'll see a dip in 2022, and then you'll see a recovery in 2023. Their dip was not as significant as our dip, and the recovery has not been as steep as our recovery. And I failed to mention when we talked about our journey to academic excellence, one thing we did also, not only did we look at early literacy, we looked at our instructional framework, and we moved toward a modified graduate release strategy across the district using Education Epiphany and the work that they had done across the country. I think that provided a sense of consistency, coherence in our instructional framework, and that we still use it today. And I think you'll see the benefit of that in these numbers as well. That's a ladder writing is small up there. I can see it better on my computer, so I'm not going to read it anyway. I'm just going to give you an update. Just the slides to come show some highlights in a table format of our performance on CCRPI this year. Just some highlights. It includes, the CCRPI includes 5 components. In the past, they had 1 score, overall score for the district. And as the state looked, and the federal government looked at the way we report our effectiveness, they said that and I agree, 1 score does not really give you a picture. When you get a report card, you have various subjects, and you get scores in each subject. And so CCRPI now has 5 components. Each of them has a score, individual score, ranging from 0 to 100. And those areas are content mastery, progress, closing gaps, readiness, and graduation rate. And the graduation rate is for high school only. The other grade bands, the elementary and middle, they just have 4. And the elementary schools and middle schools showed readiness scores that improved from 2022, and progress scores and closing gap scores were not calculated in 2022, but we did exceed the state average in progress and closing gaps in 2023. And we'll show the graph. You'll see there the number of schools. The green check mark, you'll see the schools listed on the left side, the components of CCRPI, the columns to follow. And then the green check mark indicates a school that surpassed the state average, and the gray check mark indicates the school surpassed the RESA average, the Southwest Georgia RESA average. And you'll see that we have a lot of schools, almost all of our schools surpass the state or RESA in one category, but you have multiple schools that surpass the state and RESA in several categories. We've always lagged behind in content mastery, and we recognize that. That's why we looked at changing our Tier 1 instructional framework. But you'll see also that if you're behind in content mastery, the 2 things you look at are closing gaps and progress. And if you're doing better than the state in your progress scores and your closing gap scores, that means you're closing the gap between the state's average content and our average content. Let me repeat that. If you're not at the state average in content mastery, you look at 2 components, progress and closing gaps. And that if you're ahead of the state in those areas, that means that you are reducing the difference between the state's performance and your performance. So eventually, your content mastery scores, if we continue that trajectory and exceeding the state in those 2 areas, then we'll eventually come to the state average and surpass the state average, and that is certainly our goal. Those are our middle and high schools. And these are some highlights. There was a lot to look at in the absorb, so we give some highlights. Of course, our graduation rate exceeds the state average. Again, 75% of our middle schools achieved a progress score that exceeded the state average. 75% of our middle schools also achieved a progress score that exceeded the RESA average. 78% of our middle schools, the elementary schools, had closing gaps that exceeded the state average. 92% of our elementary schools closing gap scores exceeded the RESA average. 75% of our district elementary magnet schools achieved content mastery scores that exceeded the state average and RESA averages. And 100% of our elementary magnet schools had progress scores that exceeded the state and RESA averages. And overall, we outpaced the state in 3 categories: progress, closing gaps, and graduation rate. And I'm going to briefly go through these slides, just comparison between 2022's performance and 2023's. For those that like pictures like me, 100% of our schools saw an increase in overall content mastery. 91% of our schools saw an increase in math content mastery. 86% of our schools saw an increase in ELA content mastery. 77% of our schools saw an increase in science content mastery. We have some work to do in social studies, particularly at high school, but only 37% of our schools saw an increase in social studies content mastery. Our closing gaps, 78%, almost 79% of our schools had a closing gap score above the state average. 100% of our middle schools had a closing gap score above the state average. And half, we count South Georgia Rank as a high school, had a closing gap score as higher than state average. 41% of our schools had a perfect closing gap score of 100. And 71% of our schools saw an increase between 2019 and 2023 in a progress score. And then the elementary schools with progress scores above the state average is at 50%. Elementary literacy rate increased at 100% of our schools, and our middle schools, and our high schools. Overall increase in readiness for our elementary schools, the other component of CCRPI, is 100%, and middle school as well. And then these are the district reports that we provide. I went over this in a previous meeting. We're going to continue to work with our schools, focusing on learning targets and success criteria aligned to the rigor of the standards. We're going to use formative assessments. We had a robust discussion last Thursday about our formative assessment process. We have assessments. We have 3 buckets. Some people say 4, but 3 buckets. The summative assessment, that's your GBAS scores, your end of the year assessments. You have your interim assessments that we check for understanding throughout the year, maybe 3 or 4 times a year. I think we do it 3 times a year to see if we're making progress toward mastery of the standards. And then formative assessments or classroom assessments, where we do where teachers give assessments, check-ins more frequently to make sure students have achieved met the learning targets, or we've achieved the success criteria in a particular lesson for a particular standard. And that's what we're working on now. We're comfortable with milestones. It is what it is. We have to deal with it. We're very comfortable with our Beacon interim assessment because DRC, the company that developed milestones, developed Beacon, so we know those are aligned, and we're now working on the alignment of our formative assessment system with our interim assessments and summative assessments. So that's where we're headed over the next year to be ready for next year, 2024-25 school year. These are additional supports that we're gonna provide in terms of to our schools from the district. Any questions about the academic rigor and relevance or the early literacy piece? There's a lot, and I'll give it to you via email so you can study it and come back with some questions and provide to anybody else who may have a question as well.
Madam Chair, to the superintendent, I understand that any increase is good, that's progress. And you said that 100% of our district made some increase. Now, does that 100%, is that just the number of schools, all the schools, or is there a breakdown of, say, one school made 2.5% or, and it all equates to 100?
Yes, ma'am. What we the closing gaps. Right. The state has targets for improvement, and the closing gap score. I may have messed up going back this far. The closing gap score, you'll see in the 3rd column. After those are the schools that made progress, and they have targets set by the state. Okay. And so if you see the check marks, they hit those marks. So. And
so we have one school that did nothing.
Yeah. Well, we're working on that. Yeah. We've identified that, and we provide support for that school, for those schools, and we, as a matter of fact, Mr. David just shared with me yesterday some information that I'm digesting right now for the progress to date based on our second administration of our interim assessment of the Beacon. We took in, was it December? And looking at that data right now to see how we're going to move forward for the rest of the year in terms of support.
Okay, another question. Also, you said that letters is for K through 3.
We used it in pre-K through 3 last year.
Okay.
Well, last several years.
So that school that made no gains, that has nothing in the no check marks, are they a part? Do they also receive?
Yes, ma'am.
They're a part of that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm just trying to wrap my mind around why is it working over here and it's not working over there if it's a program that has the same information. Okay. All right.
That's a good question. And that's a question that we ask, and we provide support for those schools that are not progressing as expected.
Okay, could it be in the implementation from the teachers? Is there additional training for them?
Let's be in our meetings. One thing I say, we have a plan, but the difference between success and lack of success is fidelity of implementation. And so we are looking at that. And again, there's no cookie cutter approach. So all schools have their different, have unique characteristics. And so we have to make sure that although it may fit for most of our schools,
Right.
it may not be as effective in some schools. We want to find out what's causing that, get to the root cause, and then provide supports that are appropriate for those particular schools.
I still have a little teacher left
Yes,
in me.
ma'am.
I can
Yes, ma'am.
offer
We
some
will.
service now.
Yes, ma'am. In your day off, you can come on and help volunteer. Yes, ma'am. Any more questions, Madam Chair, or board members about that? Social and emotional wellness. Anybody that has gone to college and taken Psychology 101, they know what this is. That's Maslow's hierarchy of needs theory, and that's the whole basis for our social and emotional wellness. But this, of course, it says that until your basic needs are met, your higher level needs won't be addressed. So how does that relate to education? The basic needs are food, shelter, things of that nature. It's safety and belonging needs, physical safety, emotional safety, belonging. And we talk about the difference between making someone feel welcome and making someone feel like they belong. The esteem issues, dealing with classroom culture and things of that nature. And then when you get to self-actualization, those other things that are addressed appropriately, then the student's ready to learn. There's a lot of things you have to do to get a student ready to learn. And I say simply, if a kid's hungry, or if they know they got evicted, they're getting evicted today, and they don't know where they're going to lay their head tonight, they're not going to focus on what's going on in math class. Now, that's not all of our students, of course, but it is a significant number, as poverty is a tremendous challenge in our area. So as we look at what's going on in the classroom, we also have to understand that there are non-academic barriers that students face that impact their ability to learn. So if we don't address those non-academic barriers, then the work that the teacher's doing in the classroom is not going to be as effective because students are not going to be able to receive it. So those two things they go hand in hand. And so we have to put a tremendous amount of effort in making sure that the wellness of our students is at top of mind, as well as the academic wellness. And as you know, in our mission statement, we say we meet the academic and non-academic needs of our students. That was not by happenstance, that's intentional, because this is needed. You've seen this. Last year we did a PHQ depression screener for our middle and high school students. We had 2,852 students take the assessment or the screener, and about 24% of them showed signs from moderate to severe depression. And that, as shocking as that is not really surprising to me, because you look at national data, it is similar. As a matter of fact, I think it's a little bit higher. But that is a sign that is concerning. We were seeing signs of this prior to the pandemic. After the pandemic, we've seen cases skyrocket. And again, that's not just Dougherty County, that's not just Georgia, that's nationwide. So what we've done is we applied for several grants, school-based mental health grant, $15 million over 5 years, a Project Prevent grant, which is $4 million over 5 years. We implemented PBIS in our restorative practices initiatives. We purchased Gaggle, which is a software that monitors activity on our platform and Google and other platforms. Not Google, but Google Sheets. Anything that we have in our platform where students may mention thoughts of self-harm or harm to others, and it flags it, sends information to us so we can intervene timely. And we have had a few incidents where we've had to act. And then, of course, the mentoring program that we talked about, all to address the social and emotional well-being of our students. Our investment in human capital, we can have plans all day. And if people say Bill Belichick was one of the best football coaches in the history of the NFL, he had Tom Brady as a quarterback. I bet you say if he had me as quarterback, he wouldn't be as great. He may want to win 3 Super Bowls, not 6. But my point is, you have plans, but you have to have the people to execute the plans. And you've heard about the teacher shortage across the country. We're not immune to that. So at a time when we need the strongest teachers possible, we have more teachers entering the profession from alternate pathways that are coming from other majors than teacher education, who have not had the formal training to learn how to teach. So students' needs are greater, academically and non-academically. Teachers are coming in less prepared because they're coming from alternative pathways. So what do? Do we say, we throw up our hands and say, well, nothing we can do about it, we do the best we can and let it go? No, we're intentional about investing in human capital. Some of the things that we've been able to do, thanks to this board, is we now have the highest average teacher salaries in the region. We provide recruitment and retention incentives. We enhance our employee benefits. I'm not going to list all the things that we added to our benefits package. Also, we're on a pathway to a $15 minimum wage. The board asked us to do that for our non-certified employees who are on the lower end of the wage scale. And we've made strides toward that, and we look that within the next 3 years that we'll be there, if not before. And then with our Instructional Coaches Academy, not only are we providing higher pay, we have an Instructional Coaches Academy because as you have more teachers who come in less prepared, you have to have job-embedded professional development and support to help them be successful. And we've had, in the past, our best teachers turned into instructional coaches. But there's a difference between teaching children, teaching students, and coaching adults how to teach students. So we've invested in the Instructional Coaches Academy to help our instructional coaches be more effective in providing job-embedded support for our teachers. Also, a Mentor Teachers Academy. The instructional coaches provide instructional support. But a lot of the challenges teachers have in the first 3 years have nothing to do with instruction. It's classroom management, is how to navigate other things associated with being a teacher. Somebody just to talk to. Be a sounding board. So our mentor teachers have gone through training to help them be more effective mentors, to take some of those pressures off of our novice teachers, our induction phase teachers, years 1, 2, and 3, to ensure that they have the supports that they need outside the classroom for them to stay in the profession and continue to be successful. And then, of course, I reported earlier that Dougherty County School System has the first registered apprenticeship program for K through 12 teachers that's recognized by the U.S. Department of Labor in the state of Georgia. And we have item number 4 that goes along with that. And also, we're working with Albany State University on developing the academic program that we hope to launch next year to get those, to increase our teacher pipeline potential, to get more teachers who more people who want to be teachers, to be apprentices, and to get training while they're actually working in the classrooms. Then, of course, I do believe that John Maxwell's statement that everything rises and falls on leadership. And we talk about the teacher shortage a lot, but there is also a leader shortage. It's hard to find effective principals. Superintendents too. Had 60 superintendent changes in the last fiscal year. It was tough, and people are not coming into the profession. If you look at the university system in Georgia, you'll see the lowest number of teacher education majors, graduates in its history over the last several years. So the pipeline is shrinking. The need is increasing, and we're very intentional about our investment in human capital to be a place that teachers, prospective teachers, want to come and then want to stay once they get here because of not only the salary but the benefits and the support that they receive. And then finally, family community engagement, and I'm just going to talk about the one initiative here, Level Up. And people ask, why are you focused on leveling up? Why are you focused on providing support for the parents and adult family members of your students? Well, I had the pleasure of serving on the workforce development master plan for our community, and had researchers coming in from the University of Georgia's Carl Vinson Institute. And when we looked at a lot of challenges in our community, they trace back to poverty. you look at homelessness, if you look at food insecurity, if you look at inadequate access to health care, which causes some of the social determinants of health. And so, in those non-academic barriers that we talk about that our children face, a lot of them are a result of living at or near poverty. So, although we have a lot of initiatives for our students, those that want to go to college, those that want to go directly into a career, and that's going to help our workforce in years to come, we thought that addressing workforce development for their adult family members would have an immediate impact, not only on the workforce, providing more skilled labor in our area, but also household income to bring those families out of poverty and help reduce some of those barriers that our students face that are a result of poverty. And I could tell you, I think I told you one story. I'm not going to tell you another one because we were getting long on time. But I don't want Mr. Davis to start crying because he cried the last time the young lady told his story. But I didn't. Of course. I think we all did that. We were in there. But about how that has impacted the lives of the people in the program. And we started out with a CNA program, and we're in our 5th cohort now, Mr. Davis. In our 5th cohort, we kicked off phlebotomy this month, and we're in year 2, I think. And then we kicked off last week our heavy equipment operator training, where they use heavy equipment simulators provided by Caterpillar, and they go through 4 weeks, I think it is 4 or 5 weeks, and then they go through a field test. And these program participants are not in school; they're adults, and they can move directly into the job market in full-time jobs. The vast majority of our CNA program completers have. We anticipate the same with our phlebotomy program participants, and I'm quite certain that our heavy equipment operation program participants or completers will have jobs waiting on them when they complete. That's it for the strategic plan update. I know it's a little longer than I usually do, but at the beginning of the calendar year, I think it's a good time to refresh everyone who may not know, and for those that know and want to say something different, just to give an update, and we'll provide this to board members as you need it. JD is not registering. Can you hit that next? All right. Announcements and celebrations. First announcement. Well, we'll go with the first one, the second one first. The Mayor's Prep Breakfast. I think we've contacted you about those that want to participate. We have some who identified who said they want to participate. Is the table full yet, Miss Sanders? It's not. So if you haven't if you want to attend and haven't let Miss Sanders know, please do so within the next couple of days so we can get the table full. It'll be on February 1st. Is at the America's Event Center, and it's usually early in the morning. I didn't put the time on it. I think it's like 6:30 in the morning. Yes. So it's a good breakfast, good presentation for those that want to go, and we did not use district funds for the prayer breakfast. We had someone to donate a table, so just in case anyone's worried about the separation of church and state. Update on tax relief for seniors. Ms. Hatcher and I met with our county tax director, and we got information back. Was it the 19th, Ms. Hatcher? I think last Thursday we got information back, and so we are not quite through running our scenarios. We'll definitely have them by the next board meeting. We do have all the information we need to run the scenarios, and we were able to come up with a methodology to do some projections. The city has a local tax exemption for $2,000 for seniors 65 and older that does not have an income requirement. The one that we have has an income requirement, so we're trying to identify how we know how many seniors will qualify for this, and it would be hard to make projections without knowing that. So as we continue to dig through data, we realize that the city has additional $2,000 homestead exemption for anyone 65 and over without an income restriction. So we're going to use that number and do our projections based on that number. And we're going to, of course, there's the 2,000. I think the request is that we exempt to seniors 100%. So we're going to look at the $2,000 exemption, the 100% exemption, and then several levels in between to look at the fiscal impact. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at the revenue that what it will cost us in terms of lost revenue, and we're going to apply that back at least 5 years to see if we had this in place 5 years ago, where we stand financially right now in terms of our reserves, so the board can get an accurate picture of what the potential impact would be, and to see whether or not that's something that we want to do moving forward. I would certainly want to thank Ms. Stith for her patience. It's taken a long time to get the data, and I think we have it now. And so by the next meeting, we should have the scenarios able to present those scenarios first to the Finance Committee prior to the meeting, and then to the full board at the February 12th meeting. I think that's the date of the next meeting. Any questions about either of those announcements?
Mr. Dye, I probably missed it, but you said something about the test scores dealing with social studies, and that we were not where we should be. And I have a very keen interest in government and social studies. What are some of our plans to accentuate those goals?
Yeah, we've had some discussions about that beginning early this year, and Ms. Smith's team, we're looking first at the alignment of our units of study, our curriculum, with the standards, and we're paying particular attention to the delivery of the content in the classrooms, and then we're looking at our formative assessments to ensure that they are aligned with the standards and the rigor and the proper DOK mix, depth of knowledge mix, in terms of the questions that are being asked. As you may have remembered, I said earlier that we're comfortable with the milestones. All what the milestones are. That's the summative assessment that the state requires. The Beacon, we're comfortable with our interim assessments to check for understanding at different intervals during the year. But I think we have an opportunity to improve with our formative assessments, and that's one of the areas that we're going to focus on first. Looking at our social studies scores, particularly in middle and high school, because that's where we see the lowest achievement levels in terms of our recovery after COVID. And quite frankly, when you look at social studies and the weight that's placed on social studies in terms of CCRPI is not very much compared to English and math and even science, but it's still important, and we need to make sure that our students are prepared in social studies as well. So that's a long answer to a short question. I can certainly provide you with more details if you want. If not, then we can move to the next slide. It's the last legislative update. The first day of the session was January 8th. Crossover day is February 29th, and the last day of the session is scheduled to be March 28th. I have several updates on legislation that I'm going to defer to the next meeting, because I know we had a long meeting with executive session in this presentation, but I'll provide you with the updates on pertinent legislation at the February 12th meeting. If anything comes up between now and then that I think requires your attention, you'll certainly see an email with updates within the legislation. I will say this, yesterday I learned that House Bill 385, one of our legislative priorities was to expand House Bill 385, retiree return to work. That's not going to happen this year. It's considered a fiscal bill with a fiscal impact, and those fiscal bills can only be introduced in the first year of a biennial session, and this is the second year of a biennial session. It cannot be introduced until next year, and it takes 1 year of actuarial study, and then it can be acted on in the second year. So it'll be 2026 before we can even see it be acted upon. Now, my position on that was that the school systems have to pay the employee and the employer portion of the teacher retirement So there is no impact. And there was an actuarial study done in when it was introduced 3 years ago that said the actuarial impact was zero. The actuarial impact would still be zero because the school system is paying the part that the employee would normally pay. But it's considered a fiscal bill, so it won't be acted upon. And this bill 385 had a sunset provision, and it sunsets in 2026. So we're going to have to do something in 2026 anyway. With the teacher pipeline the way it is, I'm pretty sure it's still going to be needed, and the expansion will be needed even more than it is now. Since inception, we've had 360 teachers across the state, and I think this is year 3 of House Bill 385. 360 teachers who retired to come back to work full time because it's restricted to 3 areas based on the highest need of ERISA. And although maybe the highest need in ERISA, it may not be a particular interest in a need in a particular school system within the ERISA. So we're looking to have them expand that to the 3 highest needs in the school system, or just no restriction in terms of content area. Just if you need a teacher to come back in that area, let them come back. So that's what we're looking for. But again, that won't happen until 2026 at the earliest, and that's certainly unfortunate. There's one plank on our legislative platform that's not going to get dealt with, although we are doing pretty good with others. Some good news, celebrations. We had an academic decathlon last week in Westover. I won the district competition, so they'll compete in the state academic decathlon February 7th and 8th. And not only did our district champions, they get an automatic bid. Dougherty High School, they didn't win. They came in second in the district, but their score was so high that they qualified for a wild card slot. And so this is Dougherty's first time, I think, competing at the state level in the academic decathlon. So congratulations to Westover and to Dougherty. Our spelling bee was held Tuesday. They had 19 schools, and they had to go through 33 rounds before a winner was declared. I tell you, I think I wouldn't have made it 33 rounds. I kind of slipped on a couple of them in my head. Well, I studied a little bit. I think I could have done better, but I wouldn't have won. And so these are all of our participants and all of the folks who helped make it happen. Ms. Heath is there, right there. Yeah. I'm not gonna say we had to split 2 students in because we couldn't see her in the back. We had to open it up so we could see her smiling face. So thank you for coming and supporting the students. I know they had a good time and appreciate your presence. And we also, these are the winners. The winner, Athena Garvey from Lake Park Elementary, and Emmanuel Fowler from Alice Coachman Elementary. They're both. She's a 5th grader. I forgot what Emmanuel is. He's a 5th grader as well. Oh, yeah, he's a 5th grader. So 2 5th graders. And that's Barbara Rivera Holmes, President and CEO of the Albany Area Chamber of Commerce, who served as the B Master who called the words. And we're going to thank her for her partnership as well. Finally, DCSS Moments, our event for January is Employee Appreciation Night, basketball edition. You know, we had one for football. We had several events in the fall of this year. And we're going to have our January Employee Appreciation Night at the Monroe High School versus Thomasville game this Friday. Tip-off for girls at 6 o'clock and boys at 7:30. So anyone with a Dougherty County School System ID, a valid Dougherty County School System ID, gets free admission and free concessions. Madam Chair, board members, that's all I have. I know I took a long time, and I appreciate your patience. And any questions?
Lots of information. Thank you. There are no further questions regarding the superintendent's presentation. Like I mentioned before, we do need an executive session for personnel, student matters, and litigation. We do not anticipate action coming out of this. We do need an executive session regarding personnel, student matters, and litigation. We do not anticipate any action coming from this executive session. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to enter executive session for those 3 things. Yes. Yes. Absolutely, thank you. Okay, at this time, then, we will enter our regular board meeting, and then we'll go into executive session. Please stand for a moment of silence in the pledge. All right, thank you for staying for our regular board meeting. Mr. Superintendent, are there any further public comments or presentations?
Ma'am.
Board members, do we have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Item number 1, consideration of approval of the minutes from the regular board meeting held on January 8th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. At this time, I'll entertain a consent motion for items 2 through 5B.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Okay, at this time, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Madam Chair.
Madam Chairman, may I say something before we go?
Please.
I just want the public to know that someone is saying that I'm not going to run for re-election. I have enjoyed this. This is the best board that I've ever worked with. So why on earth will I give up my seat? And I plan to run. I want everyone to know that. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Reverend Bush.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I move that we move into executive session.
Thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes. We are now in executive session. If you please gather your belongings and exit the boardroom. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So, Madam Chair, I move that we adjourn.
All in favor? Any opposed?